Let's get down in the dirt with the HomeShow Garden Pros.
Here we are, our Facebook Live for this week here in December. You know, it's HomeShow Garden Pros Facebook Live extension series. We have a lot of fun doing this every single week on Wednesday. So the normal show is a radio show every single week on Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. in the morning. You know, you start your Saturday with the show, and then you get the gardening. That's the goal every single week. And our thing is we help you out. We dish out good gardening information just by having conversations, answering gardening questions, and that's how we do it. So this next week, Anita Nelson is on from Nelson Nursery and Water Gardens, and she is just an excellent with so many different things. Very, very good at water gardening, veggie gardening, and natives. So I'm excited to have her joining us. Not joining us, she is us. We are we. So a lot of fun there. The way it kind of works, the HomeShow Garden Pros is it's a co-op of all these amazing garden centers. And so she's a part of the show, huge part of the show. So she'll be answering your gardening questions next Saturday. If you want to know more about the show, homeshowgardenpros.com. A couple cool buttons there. One is the Listen Live button. The other is Ask a Pro button. A few of our questions for the Facebook Live have come from that. Now I have the distinct pleasure of inviting our guest for this weekend, Renee Cummins. Renee, how's it going?
Hey, I'm fine.
Awesome. Renee is an established and wonderful rosarian, maybe my favorite rosarian, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, tell everybody else what a rosarian is.
Well, it's a group of people that are organized in the American Rose Society. You can be an official member, and you go to classes, you watch video. A lot of it is done virtually now, and you become what's called an American Rose Society Consulting Rosarian, which means that you're kind of a specialist for rose growing in your area. And people come from all walks of life. I inherited a house with a bunch of roses. I had never gardened before.
Nice.
I was busy. They were old garden roses, and they kept blooming, and I didn't do anything. So I got interested in joining the Rose Society, and now I'm president. So, it happens. Anyway, it's a fun group of people, and there's two groups, the American Rose Society and the Rose Rustlers, which are a loosely organized group, and they go and find old garden roses that have been growing on grave sites and way out in the woods of Texas.
That's so
and
cool.
root those in their natives. They're great because they're real low maintenance. If they can survive out in a graveyard, they can survive anywhere.
Right. Gotcha. That totally makes sense.
So that's what we do. And we've been still having a few meetings, like quarterly meetings, but outside, like in a big picnic covered areas where our last meeting was, and we all exchanged cuttings.
Oh,
so I
cool.
got these new cuttings for my new house. I'm potting in these plastic cups on our 12th floor patio. I'm getting pretty good results at the top. I'm not sure that means roots on the bottom, but I potted them in these clear cups. I should be able to
Gotcha.
see the roots.
Yeah, you can check on the roots there. And I want you to tell us a little bit more about your strategy later on. We're getting a little technical difficulty stuff going on, but definitely we're going to get into how to do that for the layperson after we answer a few questions that people just have from Facebook and from our website. So you ready to jump in with a few questions?
I am.
Okay, well, this first one is from Claire, and it's kind of a hot topic right now. A lot of people seem to be having the same problems, but Claire says, I'm seeing a lot of orange ladybugs. What is happening? Do you know about the ladybugs?
Like everybody else, they're looking for warm weather, and they're actually beneficial. They'll eat aphids, and I would just leave them alone. My kids used to play with them for 5 or 10 minutes and throw them back out in the garden, and they multiply like crazy. If you have ladybugs, that's a good thing. Definitely.
They're certainly eating a lot of the very prevalent aphids and scale and things like that. If they kind of have an orange hue and a lot of dots, there's a chance that they're an Asiatic lady beetle, which sounds like just a fancy way of saying ladybug, and it is. But they're a little more assertive, a little more aggressive, and so you don't want to encourage them as much as you might encourage a dark red one or a black one with red spots, things like that are native ones. But those Asiatic ones are going to come through. They're going to eat all the aphids, eat some other pest bugs, and they're going to go. So don't panic, but also don't handle them as much. They are known to sting a little bit. So Watch out for those guys. Or those ladies.
The ladies.
Nice. Yeah, we got them. Okay. Well, I made sure I curated some rose questions for you this week. So
Okay.
Jackie just has a general question about what should she be doing to her roses these cold winter days.
Really nothing. Don't feed them. The ground is too cold. They get new growth, burn in the freeze. Just kind of cut out the dead wood and a little bit. Don't give it a hard pruning, but it really shoots. I would keep an eye on them and maybe wait a month or two and then shape them up a little bit when the ground is warmer.
I feel like I'm getting flowers on mine. Is it okay to kind of like harvest those for indoor roses?
You know what? It's some winters we don't even have a freeze. So they have the rose pruning rule of after, Valentine's Day, you prune your roses. It's not hard and fast like that here because we have such moderate temperatures. We have roses all year long.
Okay.
And I get some of my best roses in like November and December because the ground's finally cool and I've been feeding them all summer. So I just hold off. I don't do anything radical unless I have a bush that's just not doing well. And then, I kind of wait it out. I cut off the dead stuff. That's not coming back, but I don't really get too aggressive with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a Belinda's Dream and a Nearly Wild Rose that I got a long time ago. And those two, I have to weed out around the Nearly Wild a lot because I can't mulch in there very good. But you're saying just take out deadwood this time of year is the big thing.
Take out deadwood, but I'm going to tell you something. I have a Belinda's Dream at the entrance to my rose garden, and it gets really big and it blocks the entrance. And my husband has been known to like just whack it with the pruning shears, and then I get mad and we don't talk for an hour or two, and then the whole thing just comes back with like 30 blooms.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
well, I mean, that sounds like something
like
I could do.
Pruning,
Yeah, so maybe February I do that, whack it back, and then I can really get in that bed and take out all of the.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I even have some woody plants that are growing in there.
It's a good time to reshape something. If something's getting totally out of hand, February's the time to give it all a haircut and shape it.
Okay, awesome. So hopefully Jackie heard that. That's right now, just take a pause, but in February, really get down in there and shape it up. Our next question is from Terry. Terry says, I have 2 beds filled with Mexican heather, and they're looking leggy. Can I prune them now?
Oh, sure. Unless we're going to get a hard freeze, it's really not going to do that much damage. And even if we do, you could just cut off the frozen parts. But I would shape it, and it may be come back and then be all green again.
Yeah,
we don't have too much. It's a good thing.
I wonder if the Mexican heather, even if I did reshape it this time of year and made it a lot smaller, it might be even easier to cover, and then I can protect the new growth. So maybe that's what I'm doing for Terry. If I'm Terry, I'm just cutting those back pretty heavily they're not leggy.
Don't cover them with plastic. Cover them with an old towel or a sheet or something like that, not plastic.
And that's great advice for all your plants. Plastic will definitely kill whatever leaves are touching it, and maybe not even keep it that warm. So if you haven't bought some frost cloth, go ahead and get some. You can cut it especially for your beds, and then just roll it up. And rolls of things are very easy to store. So, but that's a great advice, Renee. No plastic. All right, our next question, another question about roses. So this one for the Brenham area. So one of our kind of out of Houston proper listeners. So Jeff asked the question, what are your 3 favorite roses for the Brenham area?
That's like asking my 3 favorite kids, Cecile Bruner is always at the top of my list. It's a small little sweetheart rose, and you can trim it. It'll grow on a trellis. It's beautiful.
Okay. So
Belinda's Dream, we just talked about.
Yeah.
It's a nice pink rose. It's low maintenance, disease resistant. It looks great by your swimming pool, and you don't really have to feed it.
So when you say the name of them, will you just I know that you're so versed in them, Renee, you know them so well, but it's to me, Cecile Bruner, I've never heard of that one before. And so that's I want to make sure
it's a small sweetheart rose, and there's also a climbing version. I have the climbing version on 2 wooden trellises, and it does great. the more you cut it, it seems like the more it blooms.
Nice.
And there's another rose called Maggie that's magenta. It's an old garden rose, and it was in my very first rose garden. I bought a house and it had a Maggie in it, and it always had blooms on it. And I didn't even know what was going on with roses, and that rose kept blooming and smelling great. So I put it in the new rose garden, and it's always outstanding.
Wonderful. I mean, the
Smells great.
smelliness. Yeah, the smelliness is such a thing that I care about with roses so much. It's like, yeah, I want low maintenance and great smells. That's like my big goal with roses, and I
That's
love
what
them.
everybody says. You know,
Yeah.
we do shows out at nurseries in the spring, and they want low maintenance, no spray, and it has to smell great. You know,
Right.
so it's the same 5 or 10 roses we sell all the time. I also like Double Delight, which has, I think, the best smell of any rose, and it's easy to grow. It's a hybrid tea. Hybrid teas get a bad rap. I never spray mine. I grow it on the patio in a pot, and it replaces its canes every 2 years, so you don't have old wooden canes.
Gotcha.
And the roses are beautiful. It's a creamy yellow and magenta around the edge.
That sounds wonderful. What's that one called?
But it's called, now I can't remember. Hang on.
Well, we can just rewind it a little bit too. It's not too big of a deal.
Hang on a minute.
Well, I will.
Double Delight.
Double Delight. That's wonderful. There you go. Yeah, you did say
Double
that's
Delight.
exactly what you said.
Sorry.
No. So
This show makes me nervous.
we are encouraging guys to ask questions. If you have any rose questions, go ahead and type it in the message box as a comment. We'd love to help you in that way. Renee certainly knows a ton more about roses than I do, and so this is a great time to get some good rose advice going on. While we're kind of waiting for those questions, Renee has this she has taken some cuttings and getting some growth on them. And please, Renee, walk us through the process. Like, what soil are you using? How deep do I put them? How big of a piece do I use? Like, just let us know how this works.
I got these at a rose rustler meeting, and some of the cuttings, they all came from different yards. Some were bigger than others. This one is Peggy Martin, which is the famous Katrina rose, and everybody knows, it grows, it's huge. It's a pretty thick stem that's cut,
Yeah.
and I potted it in 1/3 vermiculite and 2/3 potting soil. And I use these dome, like Slurpee cups. I don't know what you call them. You can buy them at Arnie line. But I'm hoping that whenever I start seeing fibrous roots at the bottom of this cup, I'll be able to see the white portion, which means it's rooting. The growth at the top is promising, but that doesn't really guarantee that there's any roots at the bottom. And what I did was, when I got this cutting, I shaved the very bottom part off, almost like a razor blade shaving off the green hard. And you need to rough up the bottom so that it can absorb the hormone powder. And a friend of mine told me, some lady told her to put it on a rock and roll it, with your tennis shoe. It's the same idea. You can do it with your pruning shears. And this is a little more delicate rose. It's a noisette rose. You can see that the leaves are smaller. But see, I have some under here where I'm catching all the humidity. I have some new leaves.
Nice.
So I'm doing this on our 12th floor where we just bought a farm, and I'm going to transplant these roses on the farm.
That's so exciting.
And these, I know, these were really long, gangly cuttings, and I didn't want to shock them anymore since I was already hauling around in a plastic bag for a day or two. So I left them alone, and I potted them. And I don't know if you can see, there's a little bit of growth on the tall ones. And I'm hoping I can see some white roots in there sooner or later. And hopefully by spring, I'll be able to put these in larger containers. And then eventually in the ground, probably next year, maybe. Depends on, those Peggy Martins are going to get big. That Katrina rose just grows huge. So I'll probably plant that somewhere on a trellis.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So a couple questions I have is, do you have a favorite type of potting mix?
And we'll do another show.
Yeah, exactly.
I use any soil, and I like Nature's Way, but pretty much whatever they have. I don't use any kind of Miracle Grow or anything with chemicals in it or not.
Okay.
Rose soil has sand for drainage, so you can pretty much grow anything in rose soil.
Okay, that's awesome. And then you mentioned a hormone powder, but tell us a little more about that. What
it's
that
hormone
means.
powder, and it just encourages root growth at the place where you tap it in. I use powder. Some people use gel. You can get it at any hardware stores, like
Okay.
$6.
Could
And
be
you
called
just take
rooting.
the cutting. Yeah, take the cutting and put it in the rooting powder. And then I tap it off a little bit and then put it down. And the vermiculite gives it a little space so it's not trying to grow in such a compact dirt environment. And so it will root a little bit easier. Those are all
Gotcha.
my tips.
Well, and that rooting powder or hormone powder is great for any cuttings that you're trying to do. Could be mint, could be basil, could be salvia, anything you're doing. That rooting powder is a really great tool for that. So
Oh
that's
yeah, and
awesome.
herb garden is so easy to grow, especially here. You can grow a bay leaf tree at the house. I have a bay leaf tree, mint. I grow some cherry tomatoes. Just it's two little flower beds. They used to be by the back door, and I use them for a little kitchen garden.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think cuttings are great. They're a great hobby. It's so satisfying. But I really love the clear cup idea, so you can see the roots. That's a really
My
great idea.
Slurpee cup.
Yeah, it's
I'll
like a
keep.
secret.
We'll
It's a
do a
life
show
hack.
in a month or two, and then I'll let you know what shake and see how many survive.
Yeah, heck
I
yeah.
think some I think some roses are easier, like Peggy Martin. Everybody has a cutting from Peggy Martin, and everybody's rooted it in Southeast Texas. So I'm pretty sure it's easy to root. It'll be interesting to see if the other ones come along.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate your information. It looks like we have a question, but I can't quite make it out, and it didn't come through on the page itself. But any questions you've got, you can always go to our Facebook page or our website and ask questions there. And a lot of times you'll get my insight and other people's insight and a lot of great thoughts. So you're always invited to do that, and we'll make sure we get these questions answered in the comment box. And so
Okay, and
appreciate
the
you.
Houston Rose Society has a Facebook page too. If you have a particular rose question or send us a picture of your, diseased roses, and we can kind of guess what it is and get some idea of what you have going on.
Heck yeah, that's awesome to get that insight, that space. And y'all have a great website too, HoustonRose.org. If you want to think about joining, think about attending a classroom, one of the get-togethers, anything like that. And hopefully COVID is kind of getting behind us here in another 4 or 5 months, and we'll be able to be live events. And I can come talk about organic roses again one time, so that'll be a lot of fun.
I'm hoping. And you know
Yeah,
what? It's $15 or $20. It depends on if you want a paper newsletter or just electronic. But you get all of these cuttings from different people. I got 2 willow trees, 2 gardenias, a cronum lily, and all these rose cuttings. So,
oh my gosh.
definitely, I probably saved a little money. You can't patent. Some roses are patent. You can't copy them. But these are old garden roses that are antique. So the patent's over on them. And they're usually the ones people grow are the same ones that grow in this area well, so they're easy to root.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't use
awesome.
any chemicals. If I have to spray some rose bush, I throw it out. It's too
Yeah,
much trouble.
just let it go. I think that's wonderful.
There's too many varieties. There's too many varieties that'll grow with no chemicals. So I'm low
So,
maintenance. I'm getting old. In my old age, I think I'm a low maintenance gardener now.
I think that's that's wisdom is all that is. Okay, here's the question that we want to ask from Jack. What should I do with my roses for winter? Similar to Jackie's question. Should I cut them back? Should I cover them from the cold? I'm new to rose gardens.
I don't think we've had any weather this year cold enough to do any damage. And just kind of stay tuned. I can't even remember the last time I wrapped my roses. But in the spring, like in a month or two, you can cut off any damaged part or brown part that got a little bit too cold. But really, we don't have any hard freezes here, hard enough to do any damage to a rose, especially if you're growing the old garden roses, which are a little bit hardier, more hardy than a brand new hybrid tea or something.
Yeah, and Jack also, the big thing is to light pruning if you want to. Feel free to harvest any roses that you've got flowering, take them inside, bloom them, but cut off dead wood. Now's a great time to do some dead wood and kind of prepare your roses for pruning. So that's the thing
And
to
if
do
you have
now.
some rose bush, if you have some rose bushes just not doing well and it's always got black spot and you got to spray it and it's too much trouble, now's the time to throw it away and start
That's right.
shopping for a new rose bush.
Heck yeah! Start doing some research. Start, maybe look into that some of those cool ones that you mentioned earlier in the show.
Make a
So
road trip to Buchanan's or Antique Rose Emporium and just see what they have on hand. If they have it there, you can grow it in your garden. Both of
that's
them have an excellent selection of plants.
okay. Awesome. That's great advice. Last question from Mike is their neighborhood, it sounds like, was described as having 4 different types of grasses. That's not too surprising because there's lots and lots of different lawn grasses. But they're having a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
weed problems. You got any just, I'm always going to say compost top dressing, but you got any kind of advanced advice for people dealing with weeds in their lawn right now?
What kind of weeds? Watering, and getting sedge burst, especially if you got Bermuda and you overwater, you get sedge grass, and you have to use what's called sedge hammer.
Okay.
But other than that, I would say put out some grass seed and just, St. Augustine is what we had in the backyard. We had Bermuda in the front yard,
Hmm.
but we put sand under it to make sure it drained, and it was a small area. So
But
you kind of have to,
overwatering, it sounds like overwatering can lead to a lot of weed problems. So,
drainage
but
is
it,
always a problem in Houston. Any
yep.
kind of drainage, no matter what you're growing, you got to have drainage.
And so Mike invites you to post some pictures, maybe message me some pictures, or email them to the website, which is again homeshowgardenpros.com. The Ask a Pro button, and can help you out with individual weed stuff. But I would say during winter, you just want to make sure that you're not watering your lawn. That's the best you can do for weeds right now. Well,
Make sure there's no standing water. That's the worst.
heck yeah, that is the worst. Buttonweed, dollarweed, those wild strawberries, all that stuff loves standing water, and nutsedge, like you mentioned. Well, Renee, great job. Thanks so much for joining us again. President of the Houston Rose Society here with us today. This has been
Thanks.
Facebook
Thanks for
Live.
having me.
Oh, yeah. And so go to our website, homeshowgardenpros.com, leave a comment. If you want to join our Facebook action here, asking questions, posting pictures, all that stuff, we love it. I'm Danny, and enjoy your gardening.